And that should take a little second.
And Eddie, can you make me a host so I can share my screen?
Sure. You should be a host.
Yeah. Okay. Yep. Thanks.
All right. Hold on. That's first. Oh, wait. Wait. Hold on. I'm getting echo. One more. Hold on. Okay, before we begin, I just want to remind people that this is being recorded and it can be followed at a later date. All right, it's all yours, guys.
Wait, you forgot to say what meeting it is. Oh, Lolita is going to say, sorry, shut up, Lucy.
Sorry. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to Community Board 13 Transportation Committee meeting. We thank you, MTA representative Nick, to come in and update us on the issues and new projects that MTA is preparing for our area. And Nick, take it away.
Okay, great. Thank you so much, everybody. Thanks for having me today. I see a lot of familiar faces, but if we haven't met yet, hello, nice to meet you. My name is Nick Rollison. I am Assistant Director of Government and Community Relations at New York City Transit. I cover South Brooklyn. So I always like to say that if you have any questions, comments, concerns about anything MTA related, I can always be your first point of contact. And if I don't know the answer, I can direct your concern to whoever the appropriate person is. So I want to thank Eddie for inviting me to come speak today about some of these issues. Eddie did send me sort of a list of topics that people were most interested in. So I don't have like a full PowerPoint here, but what I thought I could do is maybe talk about some of those issues that Eddie had raised. And I'll show that on the, I'll show some information that's on our website that pertains to those particular issues. And then I'm happy to just stick around and hear any feedback or concerns or questions or comments that anybody on the committee has. Happy to, hear any questions or concerns. So let me, if it's okay with you, I'm going to share my screen. Okay, so hopefully everybody can see that now. So I'm just going to go in the order that I saw it from on Eddie's list, but I think we have a small enough crowd here that you can feel free to interrupt me or put something in the chat, and I'm happy to address that as we go along. So the first thing that I wanted to talk about, there were about like 3 items that Eddie had sent me that I felt were all related. So I thought that we should start there. So we've been working in the past about issues about noise. I know that people have had complaints about noise, particularly as trains are pulling into West 8th Street. The towers there, we've had historical issues with noise there. So I know that there was some questions about some noise studies that the MTA had done. And I just wanted to let you know that back in 2022 that we did in fact install a lot of noise mitigation infrastructure on the F line, on the F side of West 8th Street. And now we have upcoming track work this coming President's Day weekend and the following week that's going to be installing a lot of those mechanisms on the Q train. So hopefully that will address some noise complaints on the Q side as well. I'm going to pause for a second because I see Angela's hand is up.
Yes, Heidi, thank you so much. Hold on a second, let me put my hand down. So yes, noise agenda. So I read the report that was published by MTA, and my question was about report. So back in 2020, when we petitioned for the noise mitigation, we proposed acoustic enclosure. And I read through the report, and acoustic enclosure wasn't on the list that was even to be considered as a proposal. Yet we submitted real project that was done in Chicago, and it was done successfully. So we hope to see it in the future. You take it into consideration into study. Is not as expensive as rails replacement and anything else, but it's more effective. So you have more for dollar you spend by doing the acoustic enclosure. And
The
it
phone
could
keeps
be done,
beeping.
and hello? Yes, and it could be done without removing the existing structure. Now, back to report. The report shows, and I'm going to read from the report. The noise was measured by MTA for the past 6 years. And that's the conclusion. It wasn't changed. You changed the rails. I mean, MTA, not you specifically, sorry. MTA changed the rail. They lubricated, they changed, I think they used composed brakes there already. And if not, just correct me, or we're just in the plans, but not in works. And for the past 6 years, the data shows there has been no noise attenuation over the 6-year period that noise monitoring has been conducted in this neighborhood. Environmental services strongly recommend consideration be given to noise mitigation measures, which means that our petition from 2020 didn't affect anything. So no noise mitigation was done so far. And I would like to hear more about it and what is in the plans for us. Thank you so much.
Thank you for all that. I am going to answer that very quickly, and then I see that the assembly member has joined, and I don't want to take the spotlight away from the assembly member. So let me just talk a little bit about noise, and then I will cede the floor again. We hear you about the. I've seen the report about the enclosure suggestion, similar to the Chicago proposal. It's something that I'll continue to advance internally. Since that letter and since that report in 2022, as I mentioned, we did do noise mitigation measures on the F line by West 8th Street. Now this weekend and the coming week, it's going to be on the Q train. So hopefully that will, offer some respite from the noise. It's something that we always continue to monitor. That report is generated by our maintenance of way division. Maintenance of way, whenever they're asked, they will go out and conduct very detailed and intensive environmental review of everything about the rails, the noise, whether or not it's impacting structures around the rails. And if they have determined that anything is out of the ordinary, they'll go in and fix it. I know that this has been a longstanding issue, and it's going to continue to be a longstanding conversation, but I just want you to know that we do hear you. We will do what we can. As you have, more questions or concerns, you can feel free to bring that to me, and I will, of course, elevate that to maintenance of way. So with that, I want to pause and throw it back over to Eddie, I think.
Okay. Before we do it, Alex is on the agenda, but he is going to wait after you do your presentation. So everybody in the room, if you can hold off on the question, just let Nick run through all the construction or updates around the area, and then we can ask him of everything else. Okay.
Thanks, Eddie. Okay, so I will go very quickly. Thank you, Assembly Member. So just to finish this topic of conversation, I just wanted to put the service alerts up here of the work that we're going to be doing with the F and the Q tracks. It's also going to impact the B train for the coming weekends. I always direct people to the service page on the MTA website. There we have everything that's always up to date, and you can see all of the travel alternatives that are available and the scope of the work. So I always like to direct people to this web page. And like I said, this is to accommodate track work, and some aspect of that will be noise mitigation. I'm going to go through some other projects really quickly. I was asked about the Brooklyn bus network redesign. This is a project that we have going on at the MTA right now. We're looking at the bus network in every borough. We're working on Queens right now. We just implemented the Bronx last year. The other boroughs are coming. Basically, this project was, some of our bus lines have been following the old trolley lines, and they haven't been updated since that point. And a lot of things have changed since the days of the trolleys. And we wanted to take a look at the bus network to make sure that buses were getting people where they wanted to go and make sure that they were getting there in a efficient manner. Over the last several years, we've been collecting ridership data to see what people are concerned about, and it's no surprise, right? People don't think the buses are reliable, the buses are too slow. In some cases, the buses aren't going where people want to go anymore. And so what we've put forward is a draft plan. We released that back in December of 22, where we put out proposals for all of the buses in Brooklyn. Some of them are unchanged, some of them are new routes, some of them are shortened. There's a lot of different changes to all of the routes. We put that out to the public, and we have been collecting feedback. We've come to community board sessions, and we've done town halls online and all sorts of public outreach events. And now what we're doing is we're taking all of the feedback that we've received, and we've received a lot of feedback, as you could imagine. And so we are applying that information to our proposals, and then we're going to come back to the public. We're thinking later half of this year, because the Queens bus network redesign is happening. Their second version of the plan is happening right now. So once Queens is finished, then we're going to go to Brooklyn. And it will look very similar. We'll do another announcement where we're launching the new plan. We call it the proposed final plan. We're going to we'll have another round of outreach and feedback. We want to hear from everybody. Obviously, the people who know the buses the best are the people who ride them every day. And so we want to hear from you. You can go to our website, which I have right here on the screen, for the Brooklyn Bus Network redesign. And if you're interested, if you scroll down, you can see here interactive maps with all of our proposals. You can view the entire draft plan. You can look here at for your specific bus to see how it's being impacted by the plan. And we're still taking comments. We have a comment box right here where you can submit a comment, and you can let us know if you have any questions, comments, concerns about anything in the draft plan. Another thing that came up was a question about accessibility. Accessibility is the name of the game here at the MTA. I always say that we inherited a system that is 100 years old, and 100 years ago, accessibility was not at the forefront of the design of our stations, and we freely admit that. But now, the buck stops here, right? Everything that the MTA constructs from here on out is going to be ADA accessible. And as you may have been following in the news, there was an announcement last year about making sure that 95% of the currently inaccessible subway stations will become accessible. And right now we're working on Sheepshead Bay, which I think that's on the other side of the, I think that's in CB15, right? I think it's like right on the border, but.
Correct.
But the one thing that I wanted to draw everybody's attention to was Neptune Avenue. Neptune Avenue on the F line is coming. I know that there are some interesting land use questions at that site that I've spoken to Eddie about, and we're all ears on everything relating to that station. But I just wanted to let people know that coming soon. We don't have dates yet. This is in a later package of what we're delivering, but coming soon there will be ADA upgrades at Neptune Avenue, and we're very excited about that. And when once we award that contract and we start to get design plans, I'll certainly come back to this committee. I'll come back to the community board, and we're happy to do briefings or have any conversations that you would want to have about the upgrades at Neptune Avenue. I also just like to point out this resource we have on the MTA website, where you can actually track the progress of all of our accessibility upgrades. And I love to point out this map here, where we have a interactive map where you can see all of the recently completed ADA upgrades throughout the system and the ones that we're working on currently. So right there, you can see Sheepshead Bay station. So pretty soon we'll have Neptune Avenue on this map as well. We're very excited about that. Another question that I got was about Culver, the upgrades to Culver. For people who don't know, CBTC is a modern signaling system. So to be very brief, everybody is aware of the old signals, right, from the 30s and the 40s, where we call those old signals fixed block, where The train is somewhere on the track, and then when that train is on that piece of track, it notifies every train thousands of feet away from it where it is on that track. And the limitation to that is that you can't run trains very frequently. How many times have you been on the train and there's a signal issue, or you're being held in the station even though there's no train in front? Things like that happen all the time. CBTC allows us to run trains very frequently, often right behind each other. We've installed it already on the 7, the L, parts of the E and the F line in Queens. So if you've ever ridden on any of those lines, you know that those trains can come very quickly and very reliably. And so we're installing it on the F line in Southern Brooklyn. This is a project that's been going on since 2020. We're anticipating completion in 2024. I know that there's been some angst about the timeline of this project, you know, with COVID delays and everything. But we are anticipating that the major work is going to be completed in 2024, and we won't have these weekend shutdowns of the line where the F trains are terminating at it's usually Kings Highway anymore. So I always like to draw people's attention to this website. We just consolidated everything onto this webpage. I'm so happy to show it. What we've done is, instead of putting out every single weekend where there could be service diversion, we've just encouraged people to sign up for the MTA alerts, which, if you're not getting the MTA alerts, I highly recommend it, because it's a great way to know if your train is having any issue before you leave your house. So we always encourage people to sign up for those service alerts, so that you'll know which weekends we are doing work on the Culver line. But as I said, we're anticipating that 2024 is going to be the last year of any of these major disruptive shutdowns that we've seen. I also got questions about escalators and elevators. I'm well aware of what's of the situation at West 8th Street. Those elevators are very quickly approaching the end of their useful life. These escalators, did I say elevator? I meant escalator. The escalators have a useful life of about 20 years. Those escalators are, I think it's 18 years old now. But I just wanted to point, and I know people on this call who are concerned about the escalator and elevators know about this, but just for the general public's sake as well, please, you can always go to our website to report outages of any escalator or elevator. That goes straight to our escalator and elevator team. They get that report immediately, and then they send a crew out within 24 hours. Those repairs are usually completed. So that's the fastest way to get escalator and elevator repairs, and I just wanted to point that out. That is everything that I have. So I will turn it back over to Eddie.
Well, the co-chairs, take it away.
What I also want to know, we sent that one as one of the questions, is we read in a paper, and strangely we read it in the paper, but it wasn't brought up to neither to the community board, nor to this committee, not to public, that our station West 8 is included in the one of the experimental stations where they're going to install the fences. Like these little fences for the people to, you know, for the protection for the people, for the clients standing on the platform. I was looking at those things. I was reading a few articles about those fences. So I have two questions. First of all, how we end up on that list to begin with? Why we weren't informed about, the community board wasn't informed about this project. And the third is, it appears that in Bronx they're not very happy with it, or because people are leaning on those things. And I know there's some parts of the West 8 station where the passage is so narrow by the escalators, it really needs some kind of barrier in there. I agree with that, but the best way to approach those would be not to pay, like it was said in one of the articles, $1 billion for that project, but probably something that they do in other countries or other cities, where they install something like an air train where the doors are closed and open. Because with these small barriers, there is a chance where the doors are, people could be pushed off the platform through that. So if you could just explain how, well, I mean, I'm not opposed to that project. I just don't want us to be excluded when the electrical one or automatic one will come in.
You summarized it perfectly in your question. This stems from a conversation that we've been having for a long time, but it's come up more recently with some of the more high-profile incidents where people have been pushed onto the tracks, and so a lot of people have been making calls for the MTA to install full platform barriers like they have in other parts of the world, as you mentioned, Lolita, where in some systems around the world, there's a literal wall that does not open until the train is in the station, and then the wall itself opens as the door, and then people go in and out. So there's no way that you could get pushed onto the tracks. It's something that we're looking at, and this is part of the new MTA that we like to say, where we want to try things. We want to be nimble and respond to the concerns of people who are riding the system every day. And as you can imagine, our processes to install things like this can take a long time because things need to be studied. There needs to be funding. Those full platform doors would obviously be very expensive to install and maintain. And so what we wanted to do internally here at the MTA is say, well, what are some things that we could do right now just to look at how we could theoretically make the platform safer so that people aren't getting pushed into the track bed. And so we launched this pilot program, and I want to emphasize that it's a pilot. Where I think all the news cameras were at 191st Street at the one station. That was the first one that we installed. We did put them at Clark Street since then. And basically what we're doing is we're just putting them up as almost like a test case to see how they work, to collect customer feedback. The reasons that we chose these individual stations was just because all of these stations operate, their platforms operate totally differently from each other, right? So it allows us to get a wider sense of how these barriers are going to work on the platform. I don't know if anybody's actually seen them. Do we have a picture here? No, I don't think so. But it's just a yellow fence that is placed on the platform. If you look at any of the news coverage, you can see it. I mean, I personally went to Clark Street and used it myself. It does allow you to have a position where you can sit against the railing and feel safe that you aren't going to fall into the track. I spoke to people who were using strollers who were concerned about the space that was available because once you put the gates, there's less space for people to maneuver in and out of the doors. So these are all things that we're taking feedback on. This isn't necessarily something that's going to be adopted system-wide, but it's just a pilot program for us to look to see what works in the system, what doesn't work, and how we can make the platform safer for everybody who's using the train. Hopefully I answered all your questions there.
You did. When are you planning to get to our station? Just was wondering.
Yeah, this is in this bundle. I don't have that date yet. I think it is going to be associated with the track work that we're doing in the next 2 weeks, but I will get you a firm date on that.
Understood. But will this pilot program, if the automated system will come eventually, will not exclude us from that since we already have the. This will not exclude us from that since we have the.
Absolutely, yeah.
Okay, understood.
This was material. This was all in-house. It's stuff that we can move easily. Mm-hmm. This doesn't exclude anything from happening. It's just an attempt to look at different ideas.
Understood. Thank you.
Okay, we have 3 hands raised. First we have is Craig, and then we have Mark, and then Milagros.
Thank you, Eddie. Hi, Nick.
Hello.
So, it's probably worth pointing out that Coney Island is attracting millions of visitors a year. And our goal, of course, is to get as many of those to travel to Coney Island using public transit and not driving personal vehicles. So in order to do that, the best way to disincentivize people from driving vehicles is to maximize the carrying capacity of public transit and making sure that we have reliable service all summer long. Last year, as you know, because of the Culver work, the disruption to the F service kind of left us with a lack of weekend service. And thanks to the community board and the area's elected officials, they petitioned and lobbied the MTA to put in the shuttle buses. And, you know, that was better than nothing. But I had proposed at the time the concept of a summer embargo on all MTA work so that there would be no service disruptions, particularly on weekends. And any planned work that is planned for the summer of 2024 could simply be deferred to the fall, laid over, as it were. So I wanted to revisit that, and it's not just for the Culver project, but any project that would reduce the carrying capacity during the peak months, especially on the weekends. Is a summer embargo something that we could talk to the folks in the planning division about? Is that something that we can instill in the mindset of the MTA planners when they lay out their projects? And I would go so far as to add that over the summer, we could have enhanced capacity. During COVID, the MTA ran the G train and extended it from Church Avenue down to Stillwell, creating a hipster pipeline from northern Brooklyn all the way down to Coney Island. And it's much better to get them to travel by train than drive their personal vehicles. Furthermore, I used to represent the F train up by Carroll and Bergen and Union and in that northern part of Brooklyn. And we resisted the notion of an express F service because our platforms were crowded, especially during rush hour, and we didn't want to lose any F service. However, on the weekends during the summer, there's no reason why you couldn't have express F service to Coney Island. It would not interfere with the needs in Brownstone, Brooklyn, and it would do a great service to the people of Coney Island, expanding that service capacity further. So A, summer embargo, B, extending the G, and C, having weekend F express over the summers as well. Is that something that you guys can consider? Should we send you a letter on that? How do you want to handle it?
Okay, so
just I would like to add the D. If we could have a weekend or a weekday service during the beach season, instead of having a weekend service for the buses and trains, if we could continue during beach season, have a weekdays schedule.
Thank you, Lolita.
thank you. So that was a lot. Let me try to break that down a little bit. First of all, I am well aware of the unique needs, and everybody at the MTA, I should say, is aware of the unique needs of Coney Island in terms of transportation during beach season. I personally am in conversations literally every day where we are doing what we can to make sure that maintenance work is happening in cold months and not during beach season. Hence why we have this extensive track work happening this weekend. We want to try to push as much of this as we can before Memorial Day comes around. So I hear you, and it's a conversation that we constantly have internally of making sure that we are providing as much service as we possibly can to Coney Island during the peak season. You were talking about some sort of embargo. It's something that I can take back, certainly. The one thing that I would mention is that when we sign contracts, when we sign construction contracts, there are stipulations to those contracts, and so we have to follow them, right? They're legal documents, so we can't tell I'm just making this up off the top of my head, but we can't tell a contractor that they have 3 years to complete a project, and then we institute an embargo and force them to take 6 years. That would violate the contract. So there's a lot of nuance there, a lot of concerns that we would have to parse through to make that work. But so that's just why I wanted to explain why we do the contracts the way that we do. I will certainly make a note of your service change requests of the G, the F Express. You asked about a letter. If you want to send me an email or a letter with anything like that, I can send that to the operations planning division, and they can review it and explain to me, why we can or cannot do certain things. Obviously, if we can do it, we will do it. But that would be, very helpful to me in terms of just making sure that we have some written correspondence from the community board that I could provide some formal response to. So in short, we do the best that we can to provide as much service as possible to Coney Island during the summer. I hear your concerns, and please send me your specific questions and I'll get you some operational answers.
Thank you, Nick.
Thank you.
All right. Before we continue, Alex just texted me saying that he has a long day and he would like to speak next. So
Please.
Nick, hold on to your questions. Alex?
Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can hear you now.
Okay, very good. I don't know if you can see me, but it's not necessary.
Okay.
Hello, everyone. Madam Chair, committee members, Nick, thank you for your great presentation. And thank you for ADA upgrades in particular. Just a couple proposals. And first, I hope you're all safe and sound. This is first time in my memory that we don't have any snow in Albany and we have a snow in New York. And I don't know how that happened today. But anyway, I'll try to be concise. So the first proposal, it's in regarding to MTA, Nick. And MTA shortly will be getting a letter from Senator Jessica Scarcella-Spanton and myself, and it's going to be in regards to reducing the speed of trains while they traveling among the big high-rises, Luna Park, Worbus, Trump, Brightwater, etc. I remember, I just don't remember when, but at some point, maybe during Giuliani administration time, we had a speed limit of 5 miles in some areas here, and we even had, I believe we had a sign of 5 miles. I don't know. Maybe I was dreaming about it, but I really believe that it's been in place. I don't know, 25 years ago. I don't really remember when, Nick. So MTA will be getting this letter from us. We're going to be making this proposal, and if we can start a conversation about it with MTA, that would be great, and with the community, of course, and with Transportation Committee. So first, my question, Nick, have you ever heard of it? And were you born after? It's been in place.
I'm not familiar with the speed limit in this particular area. We do have a long history of putting specific speed limits in different areas. Anybody who's been in downtown Manhattan, who's taken the, maybe the 2 train from Chambers to Park, knows that we have to take that turn extremely slow due to the old nature of the tunnel. So it's something that we're always looking at, and we can certainly, have a conversation about it.
Wonderful, great. Because I just wanted to say that, of course, I'm supporting Angela Kravchenko proposal in regards to noise mitigation, but this reducing a train speed to 5 miles would provide us with such a noise mitigation that it would be just great. I don't know. Let's just continue our conversation about it. The other thing that I wanted to talk about really briefly, something that I think I've been talking about at the community board meeting already, and that's the proposal that I've been in discussion with Rhonda and Kit about at DOT, and it just 2 things. We have a very heavy traffic in the summertime on Saturdays, Sundays, and Friday evening. And yes, we would love, like Craig said, we would love for everybody to use a public transportation, but people not listening and they coming by the cars. And the proposal that I was talking to Keith and Randy about is the reversing 1 lane on Neptune Avenue, going from on those times when we have to, simply speaking, get rid of all those cars that we have in Coney Island area during the high traffic times, just making Neptune Avenue from Seagate to Cropsey, a place where we would have 3 lanes. We would get rid of bike lane for a few hours at least, and we'll be creating 3 lanes going from Seagate to Cropsey Avenue, while 1 lane would go from Cropsey to Seagate. This way, we would be able to get rid of the cars real quick and much faster. And the other thing, and that was the Michael proposal from Gargiulos, reversing West 17th Street during those hours. And again, with the idea of getting rid of faster with all the cars that's coming from Coney Island area towards Cropsey, towards the bridge, towards Bell Parkway. That's the proposal. I've been having a discussion with Randy and Kit, like I said, and they said that they're going to take it in a very serious consideration. So I just wanted Transportation Committee to update Transportation Committee on these conversations. Thank you all very much, and stay safe.
Thank you, Assemblyman.
All right, so let's go back to the questions. We have Mark, and then we have Milagros.
Hi, my question is about the bus redesign. You seem to indicate that there's a new version after all the questions from the first round. I check every month or two, download the full PDF. It's the same document. So is it now a new version of this, or is what's on the website still from a year and a half ago?
That's correct. The draft plan is on the website now, and that is the most recent iteration of the redesign proposal. Once Queens finishes, we're going to do the second round of Brooklyn. I can't give you a specific date yet, but it's going to be the later half of 2024. So think fall time, let's say. I don't want you to come back to me and say you said it was fall, but it came out on Christmas. So I don't want to commit to a specific time, but it will be late in the second half of 2024, and that's when we would have an updated document on the website that you could review, and that would include everybody's feedback from the first round.
Okay, so it's what's there right now is still the original,
the most recent.
No problem. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, next we have is Milagros.
Yeah, hi. You hear me?
Yes,
we do.
Okay. All right. I have an issue, and my issue is we have 2 buses in Coney Island, main buses, B36 and B74. I usually use B74 to go to church. At nighttime, that bus is never on time. Sometimes you send 3 and 4 36 and only 174. Even in the daytime, last week on Wednesday, I waited for the B74 like 45 minutes. Okay? I didn't have $3 that I could take a cab, because usually that's what I do. I take the $3 cab if the bus is not there on time. So I want to know why 36 could have 3 buses or 4 buses going on, and 74 only have 1. Okay, so the one on Wednesday was crowded. So the guy opened up the back, the driver opened up the back door. There was a young guy waiting. He ran to the back and got in the bus. But by the time I got there, the driver just closed the door on my face.
I'm sorry to hear that.
So, I'm having an issue with that, because I go to church by 7:20. And sometimes the bus doesn't come on time. I have to take a $3. If I have the money, I do it. But if I don't have it, I have to wait for the bus or walk it. Sometimes I cannot walk it. That's all.
Thank you. I'm sorry to hear about your concern. If and this goes for anybody on the call, if you have a particular incident on a bus, I always ask people to get the bus number. There's a number on the bus that allows me if you give me the bus number, I can go to road operations, I can go to the bus depot, we can track the bus using our software, we can interview the bus operator. So if you can get the bus number when there's an incident like that, you could send it to to me via the community board, whatever. And we can certainly do an investigation about that. I hear your concerns about the service. I'll do a check to make sure there's no operational, big operational problems that are happening at the depot that would be causing issues. There are different amounts of buses that are allotted to the 74 versus the 36, so that could be causing some changes in the service that you're seeing. But I'll do an investigation with the depot, and I'll let you know if anything comes up.
Okay, next we have is Daniel from the Alliance, and Minnie F, and Lucy and Minnie, and then Yuri.
Thanks, Eddie. Hi, Nick. I just wanted to follow up on the points that Craig made before and compound them if I can. One other example to tell you how important Coney Island and the subways are to the economies in Coney Island. The 7 train regularly runs express trains according to the schedule of the Met games in Queens. So if they can do that, I think that on weekends, the MTA can do its diligence and get the trains to Coney Island in at least a normal manner, if not a quicker manner. Last year was a real problem with the F train. So there's on that point, there's precedent for the MTA running trains specifically for a destination. And it's last year, it's old business, but it's the F train being stopped at that point last year was really bad, and the bus is only partially made up for that. I also want to say about the embargo. We have lots of street work done in Coney Island, and those contracts are multi-year, and there is still an embargo. That's just something when you're planning on the lines running to Coney Island, especially on the last links. If you've got work to be done there, I think an embargo should be on a regular course of contract negotiations when you're talking about work on those lines, because they feed Coney Island. They always have, and they always will, as long as there's an MTA in public transportation. So when it comes to embargoes, there's plenty of precedent for embargoes on Coney Island when it comes to work, and the MTA should be no exception. Thanks, Nick. Thank you.
I hear you loud and clear. I'll certainly take all of that back. Just to reply very quickly about the running extra service for the Mets. That is a benefit of what we're doing with installing the new signaling system. I know, I know that it's been tough with the weekend shutdowns and the shuttle bus, and I hear everybody's pain about that. But when it's completed, the project will allow us to run more trains more frequently through the F line. So, it's certainly, a conversation that we can continue to have in terms of how many trains we're running per hour to Coney Island in the peak seasons. But I just want to emphasize that, in order to get the reward of more trains moving faster, quickly, closer together, we have to finish this CBTC project. And then hopefully we'll, see the benefits of that for years to come. But I hear you on it.
Thank you. I also want to say, great idea to bring the G train all the way to Coney Island, as Greg said too. There's no hipsters in Williamsburg anymore. They all moved out. They got priced out. It's lawyers now.
All right. We have is Lucy.
Yuri was in front of me, ahead of me.
Yuri.
Hi, Nick.
Hello.
Hi, everybody. I wanted to discuss the express buses services for Coney Island and Seagate. I remember that from the first version of redesign, you completely removed express service from the entire Coney Island Seagate. And it's a little bit misleading from your study, because as I know, the majority of the buses already coming from the Canal Street and Cropsey Avenue. That's the last stop. and only limited number of buses serve Coney Island and Seagate already. I believe it's only 5, 6 buses during the rush hour service, and you want to take it from the community. And people who takes express buses right now, they have no choice but to take bus all the way to Steelville Avenue, and then from Steelville transfer to another bus and take it all the way to Canal Street, which will take at least extra half an hour. So I don't know why the limited number of buses during the rush hour should be taken off Coney Island and Seagate completely. I mean, I see our public officials here. I just want to bring to your attentions as well that the MTA just want to remove express service completely during rush hours from the Coney Island and Seagate at all. Not a single bus. So just my point.
Yeah, thank you for that. I will say that we have heard a lot from both the community and from our local elected officials about our proposals on the express buses coming in and out of Coney Island. You know, it's something that we're going to look at seriously when we're making the next round of proposals, okay? But just to give some context, express buses are a very expensive service for the MTA. And part of what we were doing for the redesign, the thought process was that we wanted to make sure that the people who could connect at Coney Island Stillwell Avenue would take those subways, and then people who wanted to connect to the express buses could do so by the depot. But as we've said many times, we've heard all the feedback. We understand. We've heard what people had to say about the proposal, and I would just say, you know, stay tuned for the proposed final plan.
Thank you. But I just want to remind you that you already took X29 a couple of years ago from Coney Island. Yep. So you already took one express bus from there. Yep. And now it's limited buses. And it's not just one connection. If it would be, you know, just 36 to train station and express bus from there, it might work. But you need to make at least 2 connections to get to express bus.
Yes, well, we hear you. We hear you loud and clear.
I know. Thank you.
Okay, next we have is Lucy, then Minnie, and then Angela, and then Chris.
Yeah, and I think that might be it after Chris, because it's 8 o'clock. Almost. Yeah, Nick, first of all, thank you for coming and answering many of our questions. While I hear everyone saying that we need extra service in the community, I agree and disagree. You know, we need more efficient service. You know, more trains when we have service here. I see the service. I ride the trains all the time. I agree with Milagros about the buses. They're horrible, but that's a difference. But I see we have service, and the reason I say this is because I frequently take the train, and there are so many annoying evenings. You can't even imagine. I'm screaming because we're always one stop away, and I'm waiting 10 minutes. Every line I take the D, I take the F, I take whatever line I take, I'm always sitting at the station prior 10 minutes. So I guess I want more service, but if you bring more trains and not bring the efficiency with it, what the hell is the point? You know, and it's all hours of the night. Yes, Craig, you might not get it, what I'm saying. And I see you shaking your head, and I want more service. I do. But I use these trains, and Eddie and Barbara and all of them know to get my busyness, I get home at 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, whatever time I'm getting home from work, it's always let's wait for a train to get out of the other station out of Coney Island. I need efficiency. And then maybe we can add a couple of extra trains coming in, because if you're going to build up 10 more trains coming in, it defeats the purpose. You can answer, you know, or just hear what I'm saying. The other thing is, I've gotten several complaints, and I think Eddie did bring it to your attention, but I don't recall the answer, or maybe Chris did. IHOP is constantly complaining that the layover buses are staying there on Surf Avenue all the way to their block. And how long does these buses are allowed to stay there? Sometimes I go there and I see 5, 6, 7 buses. Like, how many buses can be laid over there, and what's the period of time for that? Thank you.
Thank you. I'm on the issue of service versus efficiency. I hear you loud and clear. I would be remiss if I didn't mention that that is the benefit of upgrading the signal systems in the system, because so many of those delays are caused by the fact that there's some issue with some signal. And when the signal is malfunctioning, the train can't proceed. And if one train can't move, then that backs up the entire line. And we've seen that, every day when we're commuting. So, I would point to service on lines like the 7 and the L, where we've installed CBTC, and you've seen that we've added, since installation, we've added significantly more train cars, more service, and we get very positive remarks from riders on those two lines in particular. And so hopefully when all of the work is finally complete on the Culver line, you will see that improvement. And if you do not, you can feel free to come yell at me again. On the issue of the layovers, I would have to get back to you about what our procedures are in terms of how those layovers are working. If there's a bus that's parking somewhere where it's not supposed to be, please do send me the bus number, and I can certainly send that to road operations in the depot just to see why that's happening. And it happens all the time. If there's an operator that's put their bus somewhere that they're not supposed to, we can correct that.
No, they have their buses where they're supposed to be, but they line them up for an additional block. And I've seen it. I've seen at least 5-6 buses. I'm sure you're familiar with the area. So we're at the train station and all the way to IHOP. I mean, we want more buses. We want more, but I want them moving. I want them going. I need them, both moving. And maybe you'll save Eddie and Barbara a headache from me calling them at 11 o'clock at night, because I'm sitting at the train 5 minutes, and number one, I need somebody to talk to. Number two, I need somebody to scream at. But all joking aside, it's all hours of whatever train I take. It's always one station away. We need to wait for another train to leave Stillwell in order for us to proceed, and it's all hours. It's like I can't find it. I can't place it in my head that how can this happen every day to me? Thank you.
Thank you. I hear you.
All right, the next one is Minnie, and then we have Angela.
Yes, thank you. My concern is also about noise mitigation, and you specified that you would be working on the Q line. Just want to underscore the importance, especially at Brighton Beach Avenue. The screeching is really deafening, and it's something that can cause accidents. It's very dangerous on Ocean Parkway and Brighton Beach Avenue. If there could be some way to mitigate the noise there, it would be very helpful. And I think what Assemblyman Brooke Krasny was referring to was at one time we had an amphitheater at Asher Levy. Instead of the amphitheater, we had concerts at Asher Levy Park. And during the concerts, the transit would have the trains move much more slowly, like about 5 miles an hour, I guess. And so it wouldn't interfere with the concerts that we were having. So if any way they could do something like that to keep the noise less, it would be very helpful. Thank you very much.
Thank you for that context. I appreciate it.
Okay, next we have it's Angela, Chris, and then Ida, and then Owen.
Yeah. I will be very brief because a lot of subjects already been talked about. First of all, we need back X29. X29 serves a high-rise community with a very high-density population of people, of commuters who work in Midtown Manhattan. And at the time when there is something happen with the train, and it's always happened something with the train, let's say it's a snow, it's rain, and the train, or is it some repair? So the bus is our lifeline. An express bus X29, that's the bus that a lot of people use. So please consider to return it back. I know it's costly, but using the cars is even costlier. So whatever it is, it's economically advantageous for the city for to people to use public transportation. Bus bunching, big problem. Maybe I agree with Lucy. We don't need more buses. We need them to run on schedule. Sometimes, especially on weekends, we're waiting for 40 minutes for bus to arrive, and then they come in groups of 3 or 4 within like a minutes of each other. It's not, you're saying report it, right, the bus number and report it, but what's to report? It's not like accident that happens once a week. It happens every day. It happens all the time. So it's a pattern of somebody is not scheduling the appropriate bus arrival and bus departure. So I don't know how the monitoring is happening. I don't know the procedure, but there is a weak link somewhere there. So if the buses start going reliably with the interval, let's say 10 minutes, people will be using less of their cars. For example, my son is going to YMCA and it takes him faster sometimes to walk than wait 40 minutes for bus. So that's one. Lead and the paint, right? Painted chipping. I know that you're working on it. I know you're working with Senator about it. And you're saying there is no projects right now scheduled to remove this paint with the lead that is on top of the Brighton Beach. What I'm asking, can we have a report what can be done right now? Because we have a food there, we have a food stand, so we have people eating, drinking, and I know there is no safe limit of the lead that children can expose, and that affects their development, that affects their brain. That's what they're gonna live till the end of their life. So is there anything like, let's say, we can say, well, it's dangerous to eat outside in this place, for example, or you should cover the fruits here. You should at least wash your fruits, which is normal things, but some measures that could be taken this year, this summer. And B36 goes all the way to Seagate and makes a turn, goes around the bay and comes back. Sometimes B36, I was there on B36 when they made a last stop at Seagate, and then it went empty around where I was supposed to go to Kaiser Park. It dropped me off, and it's not bad unless it's a February windy and it's cold, and you're staying for 15 minutes waiting for another B36. What was the point of dropping off people there? People will just start walking by foot. I mean, I don't understand. If you can work it out and let them continue every bus, especially if the driver sees the right people. She was going the same way anyway, so why not continue? That's all. Thanks.
Thank you. I want to make sure we get everybody's comments and questions in before 8 o'clock, but I'm happy to talk to the depot about the bus issues. I will get back to you about the lead paint issue on the Brighton line. Just very quickly, we are in the process of doing a structural rehabilitation on the F line that's going from Kings Highway down to Avenue X. So it is something that we do regularly. I will warn you that the projects that involve removing the lead paint are very involved. We have to basically take all the parking away from the street. We have to, put the protective decking under it. So it's very loud because we're removing lead paint with very heavy machinery. So I hear you. It's something that has been brought to my attention previously. It's a conversation we're going to keep having internally. I'll let you know when there's any movement on that conversation. Thank you.
Okay, we have 3 more people. Chris wants to be last, so we have Ida, and then Owen, and then Chris.
I just want to bring up something in relation to what Assemblyman Krasny mentioned with the traffic study. Traffic on the entire peninsula is shortly going to change radically. In case you're unaware, a logistics center is planned for the old Brooklyn Union Gas site, which is at Shell Road and Shore Parkway. I've been on that site at the invitation of Brooklyn Union Gas. I can tell you that even with a small car, it's tight getting under the Belt Parkway and under that location. And if it's a logistics center, they're going to be having a lot of trucks. So traffic is already bad. Heading westbound to get on the belt at Ocean Parkway, that traffic spills over into Shell Road and Shore Parkway. If there are trucks coming out of that center, they're going to have no choice but to, if they're heading southbound, to get onto Neptune Avenue. And any traffic studies or traffic changes that are being done really need to wait until we see what's happening with this logistics center. And the other thing is, as you recall, when the Shore Theater was given a ULURP, they were supposed to have a parking. They were supposed to use the Gargiulo's parking lot for their patrons of their hotel and their banquet center. Well, that Shore Hotel, it doesn't seem to be moving forward now, but we hear that it may move forward in the future. So where will the traffic from their banquet center go? So the bottom line is that nothing occurs in a vacuum. And if any studies are done or undertaken, they're not just a moment in time. We need to be aware of what is coming down the pipeline and how what's coming down the pipeline will affect other parts of the peninsula. Because I sure know that if I was using Shell Road to get in and out of Coney, and now I had a lot of trucks to deal with, I'd be looking either to get up to the belt on Cropsey or to somehow head down Surf to Ocean Parkway. So it's really something that has to be looked at holistically and not one little tiny piece at a time. Okay, thank you.
Okay, we have Owen and then we have Chris to tie up.
All right. Hello, everyone. Really great to be here. My name's Owen. I just joined the management team over for Live Nation at the Coney Island Amphitheater. Nick, great presentation. Assemblymen and women, wonderful work. Eddie, thanks for helping organize a bunch of this stuff. My question is either for Nick or maybe for Eddie, since you're the district manager. I don't know who should field this, so feel free to chime in as you think it's right. As we're approaching our busy season, I wanted to check in and see, is there any planned work, either by the MTA or local government, that would impact streets around the Coney Island Amphitheater or other things like that that we should be aware of and plan for, no standing zones, anything like that? Pretty much looking at the area between 19th and 23rd Street or anything around the venue. Just kind of here to check in and see what you guys think. So that's all.
Real quick, right by your theater, there's going to be a new street called Ocean Way. Within the next 6 months to a year's time, they're going to have, I guess, a one-way, two-way street going behind Surf Vet. So you're going to be seeing a lot of action around there. So there's definitely going to be no standing at this particular time, but once it's open, you can have through traffic there.
You said that's in about a 6-month time frame?
Well, we're talking about the city, so I would say a year's time.
Okay, that's fair. All right, and that's the only thing
That's the only thing that will affect you guys right now.
So the Ocean Way project?
Yeah.
As the chair of the community board, I wouldn't highly recommend any no standing, no parking locations in this district. Trust me, it would be a disaster in this area. And plus, the city wants their money. Don't those meters run to 1 o'clock midnight?
That's right.
They're not going to care about that, but the residents will have a field trip with us. So while I respect what you're saying, I don't think many people here would agree with you. Sorry.
That's okay. No worries at all. Thank you guys for giving me this information. It's helpful. I'm trying to get to know, the community and what's going on. So I really appreciate that feedback. Thank you guys so much.
Not a problem. Okay, last but not least, Christopher Greif.
Yes, and I actually don't have any questions for Nick because he and I know how to find him. The one thing I just want to be very clear, and Nick and I did discuss it, that's one thing I want to thank Nick, because everything he's saying, I agree with him. But there's one thing that I want to be very clear, and I want to thank Eddie, who did put it on the chat to everyone. And making sure, Nick, you did see it's on the chat there. And Nick is making sure you put, and thanks to Eddie putting his phone number. Please, everyone, if you see these issues out there, please put it in the complaint, because how can we track where the complaint is? Because it's not easy for Nick, because Nick needs to track it. We need to track it out so we can catch the problem. As Nick is mentioning this 100 times, I know I have said this trillions and millions of times, because Andy Eagersby will even agree with me as well as Nick. We need the facts. If we don't get the vehicle number to catch that bus perp, how can we get it done? And just to let everyone know, Lucy, to answer your other question, you were talking about the shuttle buses that is on that cross line on Surf Avenue. Nick, you were away, so Andy Eagersby did fix that issue, but we still need to watch it when now we have the F&Q shuttle. Some of these bus drivers got to remember that stop blocking these. Eddie, I'm talking and you're texting me right now. That's really kosher. Yeah. The focus is we got to make sure that the shuttle buses are not sleeping there too much. And thank you, Lucy, to backing me up with the hand rolling, because I'm trying to finish. He distracted me, Eddie. So we have to work on those shuttle buses during the week of the next 10 days. So we do need to be clear. And just so everyone know, accessibility, and to back up Nick, because this is from Q, accessibility signs are reminding everyone the last accessible stations on the F is Church Avenue, Kings Highway is the B and Q. Please use the D and the N for your accessible reroutes. Thank you.
Thank you, Chris.
Okay. Chairs?
I just would like to add a quick question. It's not going to take too long time. I just want to return back, if Nick could take it back to MTA, the fact that the Q trains are running this ratio of Q and B trains. There's like 3 B trains passing by with 1 Q, and they passing pretty much in the same lane. So maybe there is time to return back to. I originally remember that when the B would stop at West 8 Station or like Ocean Parkway, at least in peak time. I know it's a far-fetched idea, but if there's any trains could stop in between, that'd be great, because sometimes I would stay on Shipshead Bay waiting to change for Q. 3 Bs will come, and those stations, Ocean Parkway, West 8, and going to Stillwell, we will not get the people who going through these stations will not get the service. So just in the evening is very long, and I would like to support Lucy's concern about the train standing for 10 minutes just before entering a West 8 station, because they're waiting for the other train that is leaving Stillwell. So you're staying for 10 minutes on the bridge or staying somewhere. It's very frustrating. Sometimes it's easier to walk, but otherwise, we appreciate Nick, you coming in and listening to our concerns and questions, and it was a very nice presentation, and you pretty much cover all the bases, and all the question was asked. We really appreciate your coming in and listening to us.
And thank you for having me. I really appreciate the opportunity to come speak. I'm sorry that we couldn't do this in person, but hopefully next time, maybe we can do this again when it's a little warmer, and I'd be happy to come in person. I'm always happy to come and provide updates whenever you guys are looking for some. So happy to be here. Thank you.
Thank you.
That's good.
Thank you.
All right,
Thank you so
Logan.
much.
Do we have any old business, new business?
Oh,
And
Lucy?
so,
I don't have any old, but a kind of a new.
Oh.
I just want to thank you and Angela for taking the effort as chairs to push this issue and create an agenda for the community. And this is exactly what I've been saying over and over. And yes, Barbara, you can place this in the record for the 10th time, that when you're appointed as a chair, it's not about the staff, it's not about the chair of the board of creating an agenda. It's about the chairs of the committee bringing topics to us, and we can then present it to the community. So I want to thank you both for doing this, and hopefully our other chairs will take the same initiative in doing that. Thank you.
And we thank you for the staff and you as a chairperson for arranging this on a short notice and putting everybody in place and inviting people. We really do appreciate that.
Yes, and I'm saying that me and Lolita, we're both using public transportation for our entire adult life, so we can talk about it for hours and hours. We're probably the best people here to talk about the issues.
All right. So if there's no other business, got you guys.
So
You need a motion. You need a motion.
Motion to adjourn.
That's it. You got it.
Okay, great. Thank you so much, everybody.
Thank you, guys.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Good
Good
night.
night.
Good night.
Good night, guys.
Good night, Nick. Good night, Eddie. Good night, Lucy.
Yes, good night.
Good night.